I don't think you're going to do it right.
Yes, I am.
I hope he does it right.
1-800-SAM.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, do I have it?
Yeah, but is he going to answer?
Oh, and don't swear.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, you're on the air. Sorry, I dialed you personally, Sam. Hi, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Sam.
I'm doing great, guys. How are you this morning?
Listen, this really is nobody's fault because honestly, we hadn't talked in a week, so I completely forgot we were speaking this morning. So we were going to preview the Jacksonville Jaguars, but we'd rather talk to you. And it's not like you and I didn't talk like literally 7 hours ago on the phone about this.
I don't know. The Jaguars' appetite in this market is pretty thirsty.
It is. You want to break them down for us?
Yeah, you want to break down the Jags defense?
They have really sharp teeth. They are a predator.
He's doing a Jaguar. Sam, you're a Niner fan, right? Being from Pleasanton, are you not?
I am. It's funny. Yes, I am. The media guy means like I'm not a fan of anything. Yeah, I love the Niners.
Well, hold on a second. Wait, no, I hear you.
Yeah,
But
you can be a fan.
Yeah, you can. Like, you cover basketball. You're not covering. Like, I could understand if you were like a columnist about everything, but you're an NBA guy. So is that really a possible ethical violation for a journalist, capital J?
No. That's me keeping my options open. When I was younger, not to get off on a tangent, like I was the backup beat writer for the Giants and A's for the B, and it was like when I was a kid, as you know, because we're fellow Will Clark fans.
Yes.
Like you couldn't find a bigger Giants fan. So that like I still have that programming from my younger years where it's like, don't admit what teams you like because somebody might not want to let you cover that team. They'll think you're biased, but you know, I think it's safe to say after 20 years that my future is not in NFL reporting.
Did you? Let me see. I'm trying to do the math here. Were you backing up Nick Peters?
The great Nick Peters.
Wow,
nice.
Wow, he was.
Are we like? What's our time? You want a quick fun story?
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's the off season. We can go down rabbit holes.
Yes.
So I'm like this, you know, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed reporter in the Giants locker room. You know, Pac-Bell had just opened up, and I'm trying to get my feet wet. Nick wants a day off. They give me the honor of backing him up. I'm in the locker room. All the regular beat writers are doing, you know, kind of their thing, hanging in the corner because Barry Bonds doesn't make the most inviting locker room environment.
Yeah, right.
And this is the time when my current life at the time mixed with my future life. So Barry's sitting in the corner and he's in his famous recliner. And I finally get the gumption to say, all right, if I'm going to be around this dude, I got to at least say hello. And I walk about 30 feet. It felt like 100 yards to go say hello to Barry Bonds because there was nobody around him. It felt like, you know, he was on an island and he's intimidating. And I go say hello to Barry. He's in his chair and he's watching a television program on the TV in his locker. These, of course, are perks that his teammates did not have in their lockers. And to the Nick Peters point, you know, I was smart enough to know, like, listen, Barry loves Nick. You know, Nick covered, and if any of the listeners don't know, Nick was a legendary baseball writer.
Legend.
The press box in the Giants Stadium to this day is named after him. Yeah. Covered the Giants for different publications for half a century, which is unbelievable. So he had covered Bobby Bonds before Barry Bonds. So I name dropped Nick. Said, Barry, how you doing? I know you're real friendly with Nick Peters. You know, I'm backing him up today. And that actually landed. That worked pretty well. He was friendly. He said, oh, nice to meet you. Well, then I get greedy. I'm like, oh, man, we're good. We're good. I'm going to hang out with Barry. And so I'm standing next to his chair, and now I'm looking for, like, the next conversation topic. And I look on the TV, and there's a young dude in a slam dunk contest in the McDonald's event by the name of LeBron James. And Barry's watching LeBron. And so I decided, all right, that's the direction I'm going to go. I'm like, man, you believe this LeBron kid? He's something else, huh? And sure enough, I'm sitting there waiting for Barry's response, and it's like 5 seconds and 10 seconds, and it's crickets. And I'm like, okay, cool. Really, really good to meet you, Barry.
And that's it.
And I shrunk back to the rest of the reporters.
Did you? Were you able to write about that interaction?
No, I never did. I've told the story a bunch of times, but I've never written about it.
I'm thinking, did you ever tell LeBron that story?
That's a great point.
No. a funny idea, Jason. Yeah, I like that. I've never told him that.
I should tell him that. LeBron knows who Barry is.
I tell him that Barry was so not impressed with you, LeBron, that like he didn't even want to talk.
Now Barry's doing a local barbecue commercials.
Oh, that's right. I have seen that.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. So, Sam, while we do have, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
today,
thanks, Sam.
We know this
appreciate
has kind of been
nice of you.
Story time.
Story time. Yeah. I do want to ask you about the in-season tournament. Dave and I have been talking about it, I'm a little bit more intrigued and potentially excited, but I don't know. What's your general feel that the league feels about the upcoming in-season tournament? The league around the league.
I don't have a great sense of it. You know, we're not in those spaces right now to get the chatter as easily. It's funny because we end up talking on this show in our visits often about the industry. So if I'm being honest, my first reaction is that within the media industry and the hardcore NBA writer world, there's a little bit of there's no negativity towards, not a ton of negativity. But it's a game changer in terms of like the rhythm of the regular season from a coverage standpoint. Like all of a sudden it's like, man, like we gotta, get on a plane and go to Vegas in December to cover some kind of fake championship game. You know what I mean? And that component is a rhythm changer. I think that people generally understand that, say what you will about Adam Silver, and there's stuff you can certainly criticize during his tenure. The bottom line of the association has exploded under his guidance and from a business standpoint. And this is another revenue stream. This is another way to kind of increase that bottom line. And as we've talked about before, the salary cap is doubled in the past decade. So that's what this is about. And this is going to work in that regard. Like most of the other things he has done tends to work. Now, I keep also telling people that, at Summer League, when I talk to people from the league about the in-season tournament, the one other takeaway I had was that there is an extreme openness to, modification down the line. Like they're well aware that, okay, if the $1 million incentive for players has zero impact on their level of competitiveness, then we might need to find a new incentive. Or, all the other specific aspects of the tournament, they could look very different next year. And by no means is this a finished product. So with those qualifiers, I kind of shrug and say, all right, I get it. Let's see how it looks and let's see how it unfolds.
Sam Amick of The Athletic with us. All right, speaking of the NBA and money, Sam, I am not in the, let's put it this way, I am the MLS to your English Premier League when it comes to writing skills, but I've put together with Crayon and...
Does that make you messy?
Yeah, exactly.
Because writing is.
It would be like you coming, yeah, exactly. With Crayon and paper mache, I have put together an article just for funsies coming out today. It's about this James Harden thing. I'm not a fan of James Harden, you know that, but he's not stupid. And this China thing, the Daryl Morey thing intrigues me. You and I both know Daryl a little bit, you more than I, and watching this unfold in real time. I have a premise that this is incredibly calculated by James, that the NBA is just starting to piece together their relationships and have with China. Games are back on there. But when Daryl made his comments, the advertising left over from Yao Ming, the Li Ning, the Pudong Bank, although the sponsors went away and there's still money to be recouped. If I'm James Harden, I want to kill two birds with one stone. I speak out against Daryl Morey in China in front of the world of Chinese patriots over there that are feel very strongly about the Hong Kong situation. I immediately become a superhero over there, not only for speaking out, but speaking against Daryl. And it allows me not only to sell my wares over there, my wines, my shoes, everything else. It not only opens up a market for me to play over there, but now any team I go to, like, for example, Houston, where I reportedly wanted to go to, I being James, about a year ago, and that's where he was for 9 seasons. Any team I go to, I will probably bring with me a lot of Chinese endorsements, not Yao Ming level, but still. I feel like there's a huge financial play here, Sam, and I feel like James is in a great spot because the NBA wants nothing to do with the China human rights Hong Kong conversation. And when James says, I want to make things uncomfortable, I'm suspecting that may be a part of his discomfort he's going to push out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have clarity on, to what degree that was all calculated, and, full disclosure, you and I chatted a bit last night about this topic, and I agreed that at minimum, bare minimum, the idea that James said what he said in China in front of that audience, was certainly no mistake. That was calculated. It's uncomfortable, to use your word. I'll be honest. I didn't even tell you this last night. Like, I will admit, the part that makes me uncomfortable is, like, strategically, if that is in fact what he's doing, I get it. It's a little uncomfortable because you are essentially, kind of weaponizing, a part of the world and a fan base and a kind of a place that, I mean, at its core, this is just me, the human, talking. Like, I understand the financial fallout of what Daryl tweeted years ago when he supported Hong Kong, but if I'm picking sides, I'm on Daryl's side.
Sure.
On that, and so it's for James to come along and be like, I'm going to make China hate you again. Like that, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it is like there's been enough time that's passed since that controversy that you are hitting the nail on the head in terms of the NBA kind of slowly but surely creeping back towards China, Tencent, airing games again and things like that. So yeah, I mean, Daryl ironically is the one who people typically say is playing chess, not checkers. And I do think that James might be the one looking at the chessboard right now.
And James, as we're talking with Sam Amick, James we all heard that the Sixers kind of took his name out of the trade talks. Then you get the reaction from James Harden. But Sam, is James Harden still a guy that would be coveted by enough teams across the league? Because we do see examples for whatever reason of, I don't know, John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins that have talent, but kind of once they got to that spot, they can't get back in. Where is James on that spectrum as far as the amount of teams that might be interested in acquiring him?
I mean, acquiring him, heading into a free agency year with his personal expectations being that he's still a max player, like it probably doesn't go past the Clippers.
Yeah.
I really don't think it does.
Do they have any interest to? I know you're out of. I know this is slow time, and admittedly, you're, not calling 30 people a day. But is your guess? Could you surmise? Is there mutual interest on LA's side?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
There is,
okay.
but there's just but they don't want to. I don't know where the tipping point is deal wise, and what the hangups are. Norm Powell's been a guy that been somewhat of a focal point because, you got Nick Nurse in Philly now who coached him in Toronto. And, so it was kind of like if you squint hard enough and you include Norm with some of those other pieces, like Philly could still be really good. And maybe, you feel justified doing the deal. But the Clippers do have interest. They just don't feel compelled to give up the farm because I know most people would probably disagree, but they feel like they have a title contender even without James. So, they don't feel the urgency. Now, we all know that health-wise, they've had a really hard time staying on the floor. But, yeah, they do for sure have interest. And, I think we may have touched on the Russell Westbrook component in a previous chat. And it's like, I think that all comes out in the wash. They figure out the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Russ. Russ and James are very good friends. I think they would find a way to make that work, and James would be the priority. So they have interest. The rest of the league, the problem for James is that, and honestly, Daryl played a big part in this, is like Daryl and during the Rockets' tenure, they were never really shy, especially on the tail end of it, to share the inside stories on like the craziness of the James Harden experience and, all the tall tales about, he's in Vegas, partying, going to strip clubs and this and that until this time. And then he shows up the next day and scores 50 points. Like they turn that stuff into legend, because that was a big part of how his life was in Houston. But when you're 33 and then you're a team that is thinking about taking him on and you have all these young prospects who you want to learn how to be pros, those stories all of a sudden become a hindrance to your market value.
Sam Amick joining us from The Athletic. Look, this is all speculation, but, there were reports about a year ago when James took the pay cut that, the NBA did open an investigation as to whether or not there was a handshake deal, and the owner one remembers Joe Smith in Minnesota, and it's a very serious thing. I'm not going to put you in a spot where you're like, Sam, do you think that's what's happening? But would it surprise you if that was a part of what James is referring to?
Not at all. I mean, you're kind of tap dancing on something that I don't honestly think you need to, or tiptoeing on.
I'm trying, yeah, but I hear you.
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
I mean, because I'm not going out on a limb here, but yes, James and his people and his associates 100% believe that, when he gave back $14 to $15 million last summer, that it would come back to him the following summer. Now, I can't speak to on this day they had this conversation or they have this email. I don't know, but however they got there, that is a major part of James's discontent, is his perception, his belief that Daryl didn't follow through on their understanding. Now, predictably, Daryl and the Sixers 100% push back on that, say there was no quid pro quo. And of course, they point to the league's investigation, which, heretofore has not found apparently any proof of that. But there's a common sense component here where it's like something compelled James Harden to, not earn another $15 million. Right. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't just the kindness of his soul.
Well, and I guess just to follow up real quick, I guess what it comes down to, it'd be very interesting to have Adam Silver as a part of this conversation, with all of the, let's just say.
Try to three-way him?
Right. Just with all the news out there about, in the world of, is this illegal? Is that illegal? Was this an insinuation or was this a conspiracy? It would be very interesting to see if there's a difference between, James, we need this money. Come on. We'll, we're going to take care of you. We're family. And James, we need you to take less money. I'm going to max you out for 4 years next summer. I promise. I do wonder if there is wink, wink, nudge, nudge, gray area there where the NBA is concerned.
Yeah, there very well may be. And especially considering at the time, the trust level between James and Daryl. And that may be, again, we're speculating, but that may be where James got himself in trouble because, it's like anything in life. If you put too much trust in someone and then they burn you and you didn't get that email, you didn't get it in writing. Right. And maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But it is, I guess the larger backdrop and takeaway here is like relationship wise, and I've been saying this a lot lately, like we've probably never seen a love story between an executive and a player, turn into a kind of a broken romance like this.
Yeah,
and
shocking, I say. It's shocking this happens.
Yes. And then also, and you're in this camp, there's so many people enjoying their victory lap.
Yeah.
You're one of them.
It sucks because I love Daryl.
I got a guy who like a year ago asked me to talk to his college course. I'm not even going to say where. Never met the dude in my life.
That's it.
And we do a Zoom to talk about this visit with his students. And we get on the Zoom, and all he wanted to talk about was how James Harden sucked. and so,
are you sure it was a class?
I kind of got but this was in the pre-visit, so I got a little turned off. And I'll be honest, I ended up not doing the visit because I was like, I don't really want to talk about James Harden. So then that was like 2 years ago, I think.
Sure.
Basically told me this guy sucks and he's never going to win anything. And I'm like, cool, but I'm not doing a talk radio visit in your classroom. So I got an email 2 days ago. Bro is like still on it. It was like, I told you.
You really should have spoken to the class.
Oh, Harden truthers are great. Jason?
I was going to say on the kind of the follow-up to that, I don't know if it means much, Sam, but you read that there's been some support from Sixer players towards Harden, whatever it means, Embiid's off of the Sixers social media now. I don't know. In the end, if there's support for Harden from the players, any damage goes to Morey from the Philly organization. Like how does it end maybe for Morey in this?
Yeah, I mean, it's all, these are first world problems. Daryl's made a ton of money, and I think he would get picked up somewhere else if he got let go. But I think he's got pressure on him, especially when you're talking about this meeting point between Joel Embiid's individual peak. He finally gets MVP. You know, he's healthy, which was such an issue early in his career. And then you're going to try to reconcile that with like roster mismanagement and off-court drama. And you're going to not maximize Joel Embiid's, you know, high time, if you will. Like that very possibly could fall on Daryl. It probably should fall on Daryl. You know, the player support that you're talking about is, I think, relevant. You know, I just this morning was reading some stuff, and you got obviously Kyrie Irving kind of chirping back at Adrian Wojnarowski, criticizing Daryl. You've got Andre Iguodala went on Gilbert Arenas' podcast and talked about how, you know, why is it always players who are disgruntled? A lot of media never write about front offices being disgruntled, and it's a valid point. So, I think the spotlight is on Daryl and not a good way right now.
Also makes you wonder, we talked about this yesterday, is anybody ever gruntled? Is that even a thing? They never are.
Very gruntled.
Very gruntled right now. Well, Sam, we appreciate, we were very gruntled with our relationship with you. We appreciate you coming on throughout, just not now, but also the NBA season as we gear back up with schedules released today at noon. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.
I'm going to leave you guys with this.
Please.
22 national TV games for the game.
I know.
Holy Toledo. What is happening?
That's a jump. Well, we call it 11 and 11. It's 11 for realsies national TV games. NBA TV is like, it's like 3/4 of a national TV game. You know?
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, but
I'm just, your team was in the G League like 2 years ago.
Wow, shots fired.
So
yeah, but those games were in black and white. Those were fun.
Those were great. On that note, we'll see you next week, pal. Take care.
All right, guys. See you.
Thanks, Sam.
We'll take a break when we come back. And thanks to Sam for doing a double segment.
He didn't talk about the Jags.
Did not break them down at all. The Kings are getting that.